exactly what I need to match for the string, because they don't provide any examples, right? And without that, I can't see what I'm doing. Exactly what CLC. So it says this here, right? So we go here, and I mean, but the problem is like we don't have a resource, right? So how do you use this when you are launching a new resource, right? For existing resources, yes. Policy similar, best for other ones here. So here we have another one. But would that work for orgs? I don't know. So create a test instance first, yeah, and then run this. That's pretty much what it feels like we need to do here. So I'm going to edit the constraint here. I'm going to, where it was manage policy, here it was. So I'm going to take this rule off here. Set this back to inherent. We will set the policy, we'll set the policy. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to launch a new instance. We'll just say, you know, my instance. We'll keep it nice and simple. I don't care where it is. We'll go ahead and do E2. We'll choose E2 micro. I'm going to create this here. We're going to launch that up, and then we'll see if we can actually, you know, do this. All right, so that resource should be deployed. Let's go take a look here and see if we can refresh here and see that resource. I mean, it should be deployed, right? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. So anyway, again, this is multiple attempts of me trying to figure it out, but like I would think that I guess make sure that policy is off, but I think it takes time to like see it's not enforced right now. So why is it complaining? Let's go at the this level here. Make sure that one is off. But you can see that this stuff is really, really tricky to debug. So I don't want to make this video longer than it has to be. We're 20 minutes in. You have a general idea on how these are going to get set. But what I would say is like, if you want to try to figure it out, I think that the problem with this one is that we would have to get the API calls. And so we would have to do something like debug the instance and then see the API information, apply it. But even right now, like I have it disabled and I can't launch it. I can't launch an instance. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this policy so I'm not having any problems going forward here. And so I'm just trying to figure out how to delete it. Again, it's so hard to figure this out. We'll go back here for a second. Where was it? And despite how many times I do this, it's just impossible. So we'll go here, view policy, delete, yeah, pinch to parent, delete. There we go. But anyway, that was my best attempt at organizational policies. I do apologize, but you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay, ciao, ciao. Let's take a look at the concept of principle of least privilege. So this is a security practice granting users, programs, processes the minimum permissions. When we say like users, programs, and processes, and I didn't mean to get my highlighter out. Let's get our pen here. When we talk about these three things, we're really talking about principles, things that like is a term, it's like the thing that you are giving or granting access to. So you can think of user programs as processes as principles, and we're talking about GCP. But you know, here's an example of something that is very overly permissive. So of course, I'm teaching you GCP, and as an instructor, I just want things to be really easy and for the learner to be really easy. So normally when we learn cloud, we have a lot of permissions, right? And so the owner account you can see here, it has full permissions to everything. And so this would be the opposite of the principle of least privilege. So maybe you might want to have a separate account that specifically has ownership, and then you create an additional account and then lock that one down to exactly what you need. But again, if it's your personal account, you might not want to do that because you're just playing around within GCP. But you can even see here from Security Insights that it's saying that there's a concern because this principal over here, which is a user, which is me, has a lot of access, okay? So one thing I want to point out is that in GCP, you're going to often see within the console these shorter names, but you need to also know their pragmatic names. And so over here, we have roles im.organization role admin. I don't know why there's a space here. There's not supposed to be a space. but it's not easy to get the programmatic name when you're within the GCP console, but you have to use like gcloud to get the programmatic names. But when we work with GCP via the console, you're going to notice that variant there, okay? So how can you get principal least privilege? Well, just choose roles that have your permissions, or you can create yourself a custom role. And so here's an example of me creating a custom role where I'm just making it this role where you can do create, delete, and get. That's it, right? And there you go. Let's take a look at Cloud IAM. So this lets you control who has specific permissions to access Google Cloud resources. IAM standing for Identity Access Management. Every cloud provider has an IAM solution, but each one works slightly different. So let's talk about the three major components, and then we will go deeper in future videos. So the first one is the principal identifier. This will just be called principal when you are in the Google console. But this is either individuals or systems accessing resources. This could be a user, a service account, a group. So just understand the word principal is going to be something that identifies something that is going to get permissions. Then you have roles. So this defines what action or permissions a member can perform. And so this example roles could be things like viewers, editor, or custom roles. You can make your own. And we'll talk about some of the most popular roles in GCP so you have an idea. Then within roles, you actually have your policy. So these are the rules that connect members for who with the roles with permissions for specific resources. So this could be a policy that might allow a group to view project details but not make changes. But anyway, this is an overview, and then we will jump deeper into this, okay? Let us take a look here at principals for Cloud IAM. So a principal in Cloud IAM identifies who gets access. And there are many types of principals, and I'll list them all here, but we're not going to look at all of them in detail. We'll look at the most important ones. So we have Google accounts, service accounts, Google groups, Google workspace accounts, cloud identity domains, all authenticated users, all users, one or more federated entities in a workforce identity pool, then for a workload identity pool, then for Google Kubernetes engine pods, resource manager principal sets, okay? So let's go take a look at the four that I'm really interested in. Now, there is Google Groups. I could have included that there, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just a group of accounts, right? So Google accounts, these are individual users with an email associated with Google accounts. And so there on the right-hand side, you can see we have Andrew and my co-founder, Bako. It can be any email. So you enter an email in, and it's pretty straightforward. What you should take note of here, and I mean, I didn't put it here in the docs, but notice here it has like user colon. This is the principal identity. And so when you're programmatically entering this in, or like in a box, you might have to prefix the username with this so that it can identify what kind of principal you're using. So you'll see that when we are in the console or whatever. Then you have service accounts. So a Google service, it's a Google service instead of an individual user. And so again, its identifier will have a service account in front of it. You're going to give it a name, and notice that the service account can be scoped different ways. So this one's, but anyway, this is IMG service account, okay? And so here are some examples on the right-hand side. So here, notice they all end with G service account, but this one says developer, this one says IAM. Notice here, like I gave them my own names, and they have different permissions here, that there, okay? We have all authenticated users. This is a special identifier that represents all users and service accounts for users that are authenticated. And then you have all users, which is a special identifier for representing anyone from anywhere. These two come into play when you are doing things maybe like with a CDN or a bucket or Google Cloud Run, where you are trying to provide access to users to use, something that's like web appy or website, right? So you'll see those come up there. Let's just make sure we understand how easy it is to create both a Google account and a service account. Every time I've been away from using Google for a little while, Google GCP, I forget this and I get a bit confused, but it is pretty simple. So Here we're going to add a new principal. So I put in my other email. That was my old business. I still have the email. So Andrew at monsterboxpro.com. Originally I made that because I was going to make video games. This is like when I was 20. But then it became my company. And then I obviously changed to Exam Pro, but that email's around. Notice I signed the role as Cloud Run Developer. You can sign whatever you want. When you create Google accounts, you're adding them at the org level. So that's pretty straightforward. For service accounts, you're going to name it. You give it a service account ID. Notice that is adding it to the email here. Okay. And then you are going to apply permissions. So service accounts can optionally provide access to principals, such as other users. Service accounts all allow you to generate keys to allow applications to authenticate using service accounts. You're going to be doing this a lot, unless there's a case where you're just creating a service account for a service to use. Right, I think like with Compute Engine or Vertex AI, you will end up doing that, where you never generate keys. It's just you have to create a service account associated with the service in general, so you can say exactly what permissions it's allowed to access. Service accounts are assigned at the project level, not at the org level. So that's how it is there. And so here you can see I created a key. Right, there are two types of key. I think it's like JSON or P11. I can't remember. It's not that important, but it has the creation date, an expiration date. But there you go. Okay. Let's take a look here at roles. So these are used to group permissions to define what actions users and services can perform in Google Cloud. Permissions cannot be assigned to users directly. Instead, roles are assigned to users, granting them all the permissions contained in the role. If you come from AWS, you'll find that this is a lot simpler and more straightforward. If you're coming from Azure, you really use predefined roles, and you have to pay extra to be able to have additional functionality. So you'll be happy to hear custom roles here are free to utilize. But an example role might be, we want to just make a custom role where it only has access to buckets and objects, or this might be a managed role for Google Cloud buckets. But yeah, on the right-hand side are example of managed roles. So here I'm just searching for Cloud Run, and you see we have ones like Cloud Run admin, builder, developer, invoker. So the managed roles are pretty granular, more granular than something like AWS or even Azure. So you can really use these effectively, but you can also create your own custom roles and get exactly what you want. So neither is bad or good. It just depends on how you want to compose your roles. There are three main types of roles in IAM. We have basic. So these are legacy roles historically used in Google Cloud. They would be things like giving you full access. Sorry, so we'd have owner, which would give you full control, editor, which can read and modify resources, and viewer, which is read only. A lot of people still use owner and viewer, but they generally say if you can, don't use these anymore. But I still think there's use with owner and viewer. And then we have predefined, so fine-grained roles managed by Google designed for specific job functions. So compute admin would allow you to manage compute engine resources, just like the last one we saw. The example that might have been something like Google Cloud bucket developer. I don't know, but that's an example. So here's another one: storage object viewer. So real access to cloud storage. Then you have custom, so custom roles created by users, and you just choose what permissions you need. Pretty straightforward. Ideal when prefix defined roles don't meet your exact requirements. Avoid using basic roles. That is GCP's recommendation, but in practice, owner and viewer, not editor, but owner and viewer are still often used by companies because they're obviously really easy to use. There is also this thing called role launch stages, and all this is metadata. So it doesn't change anything with the role. It's just more an indicator to your team how you want to think about this role. Like this role is alpha, beta, general availability, or disabled. I don't know why they have this. It doesn't really make sense to me. I feel like you could just put in a description if you want to do that. But I guess at some point, Google, maybe it was Google's workflow, this is how they wanted to work. And so, now we all have this addition here. But you can basically just always choose generally available and proceed forward on that. Okay. Let us take a look here at permissions. So these specify what actions users or services can perform on a resource. So here on the left-hand side, we have a role, and see the one that's highlighted in red? That is a single permission that you could apply. Permissions correspond one-to-one with REST API methods most of the time, meaning permissions directly map to actions you can perform using REST API requests for Google Cloud Services. I don't think this is much different than maybe AWS. I think that theirs is the same, but I would say Google has a much better naming convention for their stuff because it generally follows CRUD, as you see get, list, create, delete, get. So for example, storage buckets.get will allow reading buckets from information using get. Create would use a post or a put, obviously. And here you can see there's a pattern store or service, resource, verb. So very straightforward. Roles are assigned to grant one or more permissions, which obviously that makes sense. But yeah, permissions, pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at conditions. So a condition is a rule that specifies when access to a resource is granted based on a logical expression. So it adds a specific rule or limit to the binding. Conditions enable fine-grained attribute-based access control for Google Cloud resources. It grants access only if certain attributes, such as request time, IP address, resource tags, match the defined criteria. If you come from AWS world, you've seen conditions before. It's basically the same thing. An example might be restrict access to resource during specific hours for a certain IP range. The way it works is it's specified in a role binding via the IAM policy. Access is granted only if the condition expression evaluates to be true. Okay, and we will contextualize like permissions, conditions, metadata, and stuff in the policy architecture, but we're going over it and then we'll go over it again to make sure we absolutely understand this stuff, okay? Let's take a look at metadata. So metadata in IAM policies provides information for versioning, concurrency control, and auditing. So on the left-hand side, you can see we have metadata for e-tags, concurrency control, or versioning such as schema versions. It includes e-tags for consistent updates, versions for schema specification, or optional audit logs for logging. Same thing as we're saying on the left-hand side. So for e-tags, it enables concurrency controls for consistent policy updates. E-tags is, I think, electronic tag. It's a standard format, not specific to Google, but often used as metadata for bucket storage. It prevents race conditions during policy updates. For version, defines the schema version to ensure consistency, compatibility across updates. I'm sorry, I know it's very repetitive. Like, obviously, it's very straightforward, but again, we'll just repeat it 3 times to make sure you understand what is the metadata we can attach. Let's take a look at audit config. This specifies which permission types are logged and identifies any exemptions for certain identities and IAM policies. So we have audit log types, and under this we have admin activity logs, so records administrative actions like creating or deleting resources. We have data access logs. This tracks access to resource data such as read and write operations. We have policy denied logs. This captures attempts to access resources that were blocked by policies. It is an audit log or audit config, as you understand here, okay? Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, I want to show you how to add a principal, specifically an IAM user, to your organization. So I'm going to go here to click the Google Cloud. I'm at my organizational level, and we're going to go over and type in IAM. And so from here, we'll click on IAM. On the left-hand side, we'll be under IAM. I'm going to go ahead and click the it's grant access. Yeah, grant access. There we go. Yep. Sorry, the wording is a bit confusing. I don't know. They just don't say add. And I'm going to go ahead and add my other email. This is andrew@monsterboxpro.com. That's my old business, so that's why it's called what it is. And so I'm going to drop down here, and we're going to assign a role. So what I'm thinking here is we can do something like Google Cloud Run. So I'm looking for something like Google Cloud Run developer. And I personally do not like the search here. I always find it very confusing. So I usually I would just say it's not useful, right? So I always have to scroll and then find exactly what I want. So I'm looking for Cloud Run. So do we see it here? We have Cloud Build. Cloud Run, Cloud Run, Cloud Run, Cloud Run, Cloud Run. There it is, Cloud Run. And then we might say Cloud Run Developer. Whoops. Cloud Run Developer. And so now we'll go ahead and save. And so now that user is added. Something else that we should know how to do is set a custom role. So what we'll do here is we'll make our way over to roles. I don't know where it is on the left-hand side, but if you type in roles, like you think it'd be here. Let me see here. Like I don't, oh, there it is. Okay. So you can go to roles here on the left-hand side. Normally I just search for it. And let's say we wanted to create ourselves a new custom role. We'll go here and create a custom role. We'll give it a moment here to load. Takes a little bit of time. Well, normally not, but today it is. And let's just say like launch, just say like launch VMs role. I'm going to call it that. And this is a custom role. I mean, we want to give it a better ID than that. So let's just say only launch VMs. Notice that we have a few different role launch stages. So it really depends on what you want. I'm going to say general availability as our launch stage here. Let's go ahead and add our permissions. And for this, I want to find compute. So in here, I'm going to type in compute. I mean, that's filtering for existing roles, which is not exactly what I want. We can try here, compute instance sys.launch or .start. I'm just gonna be honest with you, it is very hard to navigate these UIs. They're not the best. We'll go ahead and add it. So now they have only permissions to launch the instance. We'll go and take a look here. Nothing else I need here. We'll go ahead and create this role. And so that role should now exist. Here it is, launch VM roles. Probably not the best name. Let's see if I can adjust that name. So I'll go here and only launch VMs. That will be a lot more clear if we do it that way. I'm going to go back over to my IAM user, and we're going to go into this user here, and I want to grant them access. I wonder if I can just edit them over here. There we go. We'll go ahead and add a role. And so this will be our custom. There we go. And we will go ahead and save it. And so we've created a user, and we've added a custom role. So there you go. Hey folks, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, what I want to do is get some practice here with the gcloud IAM commands. So I actually have this. You might have created a user or not. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this one as I want to try to start this from scratch. Actually, I think I would actually need one to start with. So maybe maybe that's what I'll do first. So there is a command to copy between projects, but that's a little bit too complicated. What I want to do is I want to go over here into Active Cloud Shell, and we're going to authorize here. Okay, and let's go ahead and see if we can create ourselves our own custom role. Actually, before that we do that, we could also just list roles that we have. That might be fun to do. So we're just giving it a moment here to connect. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. I'll pause here and make the wait faster. All right, we are back. And so, one that we should know is gcloud IAM roles list. So let's go ahead and try that. Oh, sorry, we got to spell gcloud correctly if we want it to work. Now just remember that these things are highly conventional, so it's very easy for us to find the stuff that we need. Now we're getting a lot of output back. That is a little bit too much that I would like to have. So I'm just going to hit Control-C to stop that. And there is a way that we can get help with a command. And so I just typed in the -- help flag, and it tells us a bit more about this specific command that we're running. And so obviously there's too many there. I would probably want to sort by project. I think it's picking up. Is it picking up that project? I'm not sure. But I might want to just filter out some custom roles. So I'm going to go ahead here and try this again. And there's a filter flag. So in the filter flag, I would like to filter just custom. So I'm scrolling down here. I'm just taking a look here. Filter. Can I get an example of filter? I don't have one, but we'll try this. We'll say gcloud IAM roles list filter. And I'm going to just say custom and see if that helps. And again, you have to spell gcloud correctly if you want it to work. I'm dyslexic, so you'll see me do that quite often. And it is filtering, but it's not really doing what I want to do. So I'm going to stop there. Let's take a look here at the filter flag for gcloud command. Let's see if we can figure that out here really quickly. So here we have, I'm trying to look for an example. Format. I mean, YAML's fine. I actually like YAML quite a bit, but maybe not the way that that's working there. And so what I'm looking for, here we have zone, whatever, whatever. Okay, so we're starting to see some expressions here to do this. And so, I mean, we have description, tag, role, stage. What I really want to do is like say filter based on custom. So let's see if we can find this. Let's say I am roles list API G-Cloud, and see if we can find that information here, because this will tell us what data gets returned. Right, so this is the roles method here, and that's the API call. And so what I'm looking for here is, what does the data look like? And I don't have an example, but maybe we can just go ahead and attempt this. Just say execute, and I'll connect here. Say continue. And yes, continue, let me in. And so we have an error call, that's totally fine. We'll try again. Again. There we go. And so now we're getting back an API call. And so we can see the data that we're getting returned back. And I'm not seeing in here the means to filter based on that. Because filter, I believe, is like post data filter. So if I want to filter that specific information, that's going to be a little bit hard. Looking at the properties within this API call, I don't see anything that would allow me to filter it. So I really would have to filter this based on name. So let's say I want to find exactly policy admin. Maybe we could try this. So I'll go back over to here, and we have this, but there's obviously a syntax language. I'm going to put double quotes here, and I'm going to say policy admin. And so let's go take a look and see how we might do that. So I'm just carefully looking at this here. Does not equals. Contains. Yeah, I thought that's what it was. So I'm going to go ahead here and we'll try this. So what do we want to filter on? It's going to be the name. And I'm going to do a squiggly like this and see if that works. And so now we're only getting back policy admin. Okay, so we're getting comfortable with working with G-Cloud here. Maybe one other thing that we should try to do is try to create a custom role here. So we do need a role file in order to do that. So I'm not exactly sure what the content should be. What I'm going to do is go over to Claude. You can use Gemini if you want, but I'm going to say, can you create me a JSON file for a custom role for GCP, right? We could also probably look that up. So like custom role GCP YAML, or sorry, JSON. And probably in here, when creating the custom role, they probably give us that information. So we have one here. Again, I might not use this one, but I just want to see what we get. And I'm just clicking through the documentation here. We'll give it a moment to load. Sometimes the docs are slow because, it's not because the page itself is slow, but it might like authenticate your account because you are connecting here. And so that's one of the reasons why. But what I'm looking for here is one where we have, yeah, custom role here. G-Cloud. Create a custom role using a YAML file. To be honest, I prefer YAML. So if we can provide YAML, I'd rather do that. So we have a template here. We have title, description, stage, include permissions, permissions 1, permissions 2. So I'm going to go back over to here, and I believe we have an editor here. So I'm going to open the editor. And we'll just create ourselves a quick, we'll say allow, a quick YAML file. So let's say new, give it a moment to load. New, I'll say custom role dot YAML. We'll do YAML because YAML is so much nicer. And I mean, we can kind of follow with what we have here. I'm just going to grab some of this here. You can do that as well, but it's not like it's that hard. And we'll paste it in. Some people don't like YAML because I'm going to turn it on Vim mode. You don't have to do this. Actually, don't do this if you don't know how to use Vim. But if I don't turn it on, I just can't seem to get around easily. I want this one here. There we go. Install. Yeah, so what I want to do here, just format this a little bit here. And I don't need these. You can see if you like Vim, you'll really like it. Or sorry, if you like YAML, you really like it. If you don't, yeah, you don't, I understand. But again, I'm very good at precisely typing, so it's less of an issue for me. And so I'm just going to format this so that it is good for This here, we don't need any of those. There we go. And so now I have myself a custom role. So I want to go ahead and create that. I'm going to go ahead and try this. So this will be gcloud IAM roles create, and then we got to give it a role ID. So this will be my custom role example. And I'm not going to give it a project ID. I think it'll pick up the existing project, or it'll go somewhere. And so I'm going to go ahead and type in custom-role.yaml, because this should be the same directory as this. Let's go ahead. If it doesn't, it'll tell us in 2 seconds. I'm going to do ls-la to see if we have that file there. Yeah, we do have custom role. Let's try that one more time. Let's take a look here. So I'm not exactly sure what's wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and do a help. And that will tell us a little bit more about what it's expecting us to do. So here it says gcloud IAM roles create. So you provide the role ID. We did that. We have a file. You can also provide permissions inline, which is nice. So here we have an example. They do have an equals in there. We don't have that there. Notice that they're using title case. So I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to hit up. And so I didn't do this. And I believe it's double hyphen, right? Take this out like this. Yeah, it is double hyphen. Oh, we have to specify the project, sorry. So we can do this or the organization. I'm going to do it at the organization level. I might have said earlier that these roles are not project specific, but I could be wrong. Be honest, like, it's not that big of a deal whether you know or not. It's just you're paying attention. So we're trying the organization here. If that doesn't work, we'll switch over to the project. Request contains invalid argument. I'm not sure as to why. We'll switch out to project, I suppose. Oh, maybe we're not giving the org ID. Let me go take a look here. Maybe it's org ID. I don't usually specify organization, so I'm not really sure what it is. So we'll just try this. I mean, it's hanging, so that probably means it's creating the role. I'm going to wait a little bit. Oh, there we go. And so it's created the custom role. So there you go. Yeah, it's really up to you, like whether you want to use gcloud or the console for, mostly for this course. You'll probably see me using the console because it's one of the providers where the console is super easy to use. But, you know, we hop in when we need to into the gcloud here. But there you go. All right, let's take a look at the policy architecture. You'll notice that it's made up of the components we talked about earlier for IAM. So a policy is a collection of statements that define who has what type of access, is attached to a resource, and enforces access controls when the resource is accessed. A binding connects one or more members to a specific role. So it's pretty straightforward and not very complicated, but we will continue on here and just reinforce what policies are, okay? Let us take a look at policy statement. So it defines access control rules, specifying roles, members, and conditions for resource access. On the left-hand side, we have a representation JSON. On the right, YAML. JSON is really great for automated systems because applications are really good at writing out JSON, whereas humans, we don't want to see as much, so YAML makes it so much easier to read and also write manually. So it's really up to you. As you can see on the interior there, we define our bindings. Remember, we saw that in the policy statement that or policy architecture, we need to define a binding. And so here we're saying this is the role and this is the member. Again, I call these principals, but here it's called members. So the members that have it. Then we have another role with another member and the conditions to when they can have it. We have etag and version. So we'll continue on there. The example shows a project level IAM policy retrieved with gcloud projects IAM policy. So if you ran this command, this would be a way for you to view this data yourself. There are a few commands that we might want to talk about. So there is the gcloud projects get IAM policy. There's the resource manager folders, and there's the org IAM policy as a means for you to see the stuff. Some limitations you need to know about policies is each resource can only have one IAM policy. Policies support up to 1,500 members or 250 Google groups. Policy changes take up to 7 minutes to propagate, up to 100 conditional role bindings per policy. Conditional roles allow up to 12 logic operators for fine-grained access. Let's talk about conditions specifically for policy statements. These are condition attributes, defined rules based on resource properties or request details such as timestamps, IP addresses, or other contextual data. We already covered this before, but we didn't show it in a policy statement. But here you can see when you look, I'm gonna get my pen tool out here. When you look here, we have our condition, right? Here's our expression. So the request time, if it is less than this thing, then if it's true, then, you know, access expires after January 1st, right? So hopefully that makes sense. So for time-based conditions, this will allow you to control access by specifying when a policy is valid. Okay, so here we're specifying a range. Down below, but up here we have the same one basically, but we're saying restrict access to a user until January 1st. So as long as the time is less than this date, they will have access to it. Here we have the off hours access. So only during the day. So here we only want them to be able to access it between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. Access allowed only during off hours. That's really interesting. You think only on hours would be the case, but here we're specifying the time zone and the hours in 24 hours. The request time ensures access aligns with set times or expiration dates. We also have resource-based conditions. So these restrict access based on specific resources. So here we're taking a look, we can see resource name starts with this, and that is going to be the restriction we have there. The resource.name attribute ensures access applies to only resources matching the specified name prefix, as we just saw there. What are some condition limitations of conditions? Only supported for specific services. Primitive roles are not supported. Cannot use all users or all authenticated users as members. Up to 100 conditional role bindings per policy. A max of 20 bindings for the same role and member. And there you go. Hey, it's Andrew Brown, and what we're going to do here is take a look at how do we enable APIs for specific resources or services within a project. So right now, I'm going to make sure I'm in my GCP Playground. This is a new one that I created. Some APIs I have activated, some I haven't. We'll go to the top here. We'll just type in API, and we'll go to APIs and services. So the idea is that if you want to utilize a service, you have to turn on its API. So if we go enable APIs, you see we have a large library, and one that I already know that I've activated is Compute Engine, but we'll go ahead and type in Compute Engine, and here we'll click through to it, and you can see it says manager try this API. So it's already enabled. So there's something else that I wanted to utilize. Let's say buckets. We'll go ahead and type that in. And so we're trying to discern like what uses cloud storage buckets. So I could say cloud storage as well. Cloud storage. Cloud storage. So there's a little bit of a guesswork here, but for the most part, when you go and utilize something, it will generally try to help you to turn it on. So I can go here and I can, oh, it's already enabled. So maybe when I turn on compute engines or something else, it was already turned on. But if I go over to here, we could disable it. So I'm going to go ahead and disable it just as an example. So it says Google APIs, Google, So if you disable this, the APIs will also be disabled because they depend on it. So I'm going to go ahead and just confirm it. Even though I don't really want to turn it off, I'm just going to turn it off, for example, here. And so sometimes it takes effect for things to happen. But now imagine that I want to go ahead and use buckets. So say buckets. Okay, that's under cloud storage. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And I think it should take effect. Sometimes it's a bit slow to propagate. We'll go ahead, my cool bucket. I'm going to put some numbers here so I have no conflicts. And we'll go ahead and hit continue. And I don't care. Yes, it can be multi-region. I'm not really going to use this bucket. This bucket is set to prevent exposure of data on the public internet. That's totally fine. We'll go ahead and create that bucket. And it looks like it created the bucket. So, my expectation was that bucket wasn't going to work because we have disabled cloud storage APIs. So if we take a look here, Google Cloud Storage is RESTful service, accessing, etc. I really thought that wasn't going to work. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's ask Gemini Assistant. So we'll go ahead. I'll just say, yeah, enable at no cost. It doesn't really work that well at this point. I think it's just because of lack of Google documentation. If there's no documentation, there's nothing for Gemini to work with. But let's see if we can pose this question to Gemini whenever it decides to turn on, and see if it can determine what's happening here, because we did turn it off. So if Google Cloud Storage API is disabled, would we be able to create a Google Cloud Storage bucket? Let's see what it says. Because I would assume that it wouldn't work. But for the most part, when you're working with Google Cloud, if something doesn't work, it just tells you. No, if Google Cloud Storage API is disabled for your project, you'll not be able to create a Google Cloud Storage bucket. The API needs to be enabled to allow interactions. So that's what I would have thought. You need to enable it. Okay. Now, if you disable an API in Google Cloud, does it take effect immediately? Instantly? Or does it take time? Disabling the API takes effect almost immediately. However, there are a few important things. Okay, so this is where I'm confused. Like, it says one thing and then there's another. But really, you just have to kind of observe these things and see what you're able to do and not able to do. I'm going to go ahead and delete this bucket. So let's say delete. I'm going to try to make it again and see what happens. Okay, because it's been a little bit of time. So let's say my really cool bucket. Okay, and we'll go ahead and hit create. And we'll see if it makes it this time. And again, we're not seeing any resistance here in terms of this being able to be created. So maybe it's at the API level. So here I just click this button. This is going to open up Cloud Shell. Okay. And what I might be able to do is maybe if I try to use the API to put something in that bucket, that's where I'll run into some friction. Okay. We're trying to figure out why, like if we disable it, it should not work, right? So now what I need is I need some kind of command. So I'm going to go back over to here. I am in Google Cloud Shell. I want to move a text file into my bucket. Please provide me the Google CLI command. Okay. Takes me a little bit of time to start remembering the Google CLI, but it's not too hard. Yeah, G-Cloud Storage, and then the path. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch a new file here. We'll call it index or hello.txt. Okay, I'm going to edit this file. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can just, I'm doing vi. So here I'm in vi. I'm going to hit I for insert mode. I'm going to type in hello world. I'm going to hit escape to get out of insert mode. And I'm going to hit colon WQ, right, and quit the file. So now I have this file here. Let's see if we are prevented from moving this file into our bucket. So we have this bucket here. Okay. I'm going to try this. G Cloud Storage, CP, and then the path to the file. So it's hello.txt. And then we need the path to our bucket. So we will bring this on over. It's not really moving over, but that's fine. And then we could have copied it here to our clipboard into our shell, but I'd rather just type it out. It's not that big of a deal. // and we have my really cool bucket -12313. I'm not sure why I named it that, but that's what it is. So I'm hoping that moves it there. And it does. So a failed example of the API being disabled, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead here. And if that doesn't work, we'll try something else. Again, this is really important to try these things out because no matter what the LM says, no matter what the docs say, what actually works is always different. So we'll go back to APIs because I don't really want to turn off cloud storage. It's something that I probably want to use. So we'll go back over to here. We'll type in cloud storage. Okay. And it was, we have cloud storage here and then cloud storage API. Okay, Google Cloud Storage is RESTful service storing. So this is the API, which is enabled apparently. And we click this one. This one's disabled. So that's a little bit confusing because what's this one then? Right? What's this one if we have this one? Ready for enterprise use? Okay. So I have a bit of redundancy. So maybe if I turn this one off, disable the API. If any resources were created, they may be deleted soon after cloud storage API is disabled. So that's probably something worth to note. If you're turning it off, the resources might vanish. Okay. So now that's disabled. Let's make our way back over to buckets. Everything in Google Cloud is, does it do what it says on the tin? I'm constantly trying to figure stuff out. So say my super cool bucket. Put some different numbers in here. We'll go all the way down. And so I'm hoping that this doesn't work. What's it going to take to make it so I cannot create a bucket? We can open up this command again. So I'll just copy this here. We'll open up our shell. Now it should still have that same file. If we do ls, there it is. I'm going to hit up on the keyboard. I'm just going to paste in this link and see if that works. Still copies. It's just like I can't for the life of me get rid of it. We'll go ahead and we'll delete that. We'll say delete. And we'll go back over to here and we'll click back. API services. What if we try bucket? So transfers data from external data sources to Google Cloud Storage bucket or between there. Okay. Go back over to here. To a cloud storage bucket or between storage buckets. So there's also this API. So we've turned off Google Cloud Storage API. We've turned off Google Cloud Storage, and then there's Storage Transfer API. But that's not even enabled, okay? So I don't think we're going to figure that out, which is totally fine. But I'm just trying to show you what the experience is with Google Cloud. And, even for myself, that's, again, worked for, I don't know how many years with all these cloud services and being an expert in all of them that, I get confused myself. So we'll go back over to here and type in cloud storage. And I believe we enabled this one and this one. We're not going to figure out this bucket thing. I'm just going to re-enable that stuff. Now, it made it sound like it also disabled something else, which I'm not exactly sure, but I guess we'll find out. Now, I definitely know if we disable Compute Engine, it better stop working, because I had to turn this on to be able to use Compute Engine. So go to here, and if it's already on, turn it off. Or if it's not on, don't worry about it. So I'm going to go ahead and disable it. They depend on the OS config API. Yes, confirm it. Okay, and those ones are turning on, which is fine. We'll give it a moment here to turn off, okay? Oh, wait, there we go. So it's turned off. So now what I want to do is I want to make my way over to Compute Engine. And we're going to spin up a virtual machine. So we'll create a new instance. And we will see right away, I have to enable. I'm not allowed to use this without enabling it, okay? So we could also try this here and just say, can you provide me a command? Can you provide me a command to launch a virtual machine via gcloud for an E2? And hopefully it will provide all that information, but we'll see what happens. I just want to try to show, like via the API, that it should return something funny. So we go over to here. Okay, and can you just fill them in for me, just so I don't have to guess? There we go. Now that seems pretty darn light, but I don't want a medium. I guess a medium's fine. We're only going to spin up for a second. Again, if you're worried about cost, don't spin things up or look into it. But for the most part, I'm going to spin. Well, again, this is not supposed to even work, so it's not even going to matter. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to copy this. And we'll paste it in here. I don't know if that's enough for the command to work, but let's find out. That seems like too little. Would you like to enable and retry? So right away, it says not enabled. So You know, even if you do it here, I guess we can hit Y for yes. Sure, why not? And we have a little bit of a problem. The service is currently deactivated, and deactivated must complete before activation can occur. So I'm going to try this again. Yes. No. Okay, that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll enable it here. Sure there was. Sure there was. Okay. We'll try this again. All right, so we're going to have to hang out here for a bit. So I'm going to just wait and turn this on. I'm going to wait 5 minutes to be back. Okay. Now, I didn't really wait, but some folks suggest that maybe you might want to disable and then re-enable manually. And then if one of these comments fails, please run by placing the correct operation ID obtained. Sure. So let's go ahead and go over to here. Let's see if we can just run this command here. And hit enter. Well, I didn't want to disable, I want to enable it actually. So that's fine. Let's see if we can enable it. And I will come back here when it shows something. Now, I'd say that took about 4 or 5 minutes, and now it says it's successfully enabled. Let's go over here and give it a refresh. And see if it's now enabled. There we go. So, you know, we can kind of work around our problems there. What is a bit unusual. Actually, we'll go back over to here as we were originally trying to run that command. This one here. See if it works. Again, I expected it to want more information, but if that's all it needs to launch, that's really nice. So we're just going to hang tight until it returns a response, okay? That was really fast. Literally 1 or 2 minutes later, we can see our information, the internal, external IP, and it's in a running state. Let's go back over to here. We can go ahead and delete that. So we just type in compute engine. Technically VM instances is what we want. So there it is. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And we'll hit delete. Okay. So you can see it's a bit finicky, but you know, we can enable, disable. It should prompt, and if you run into issues, I guess just do what I did there in the in Cloud Shell. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao. Let's learn about quota limits. So the idea is that you have all these services, but there are guardrails, so to speak, in here to prevent you from launching too many resources. This could be so that you're not exhausting resources for other customers, or let's say a malicious actor gets in your account. They can't spin up really expensive things, or they have a limit to how much they're utilizing. So you do get some defaults, but if you need to increase them, you can do a service quota increase. But I'm going to just type in quota up here and try to spell it correctly. I'm dyslexic, so I often get it wrong. I'm going to go to all quotas. And on the left-hand side, we're under IAM and admin. And you can see over here, we have some limits. Now, I actually don't have a virtual machine spun up, but right now, it seems to think that I do, or it's just suggesting that this is the general usage of current usage patterns. So what would happen if we spun up more? So maybe we can launch five virtual machines and see what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to virtual machines. I'm going to create a new virtual machine. And you know what? This might be a little bit faster if we use Cloud Shell. Okay, because it's a lot of work to type all this stuff through here. And so I'm looking here, and yeah, I do want E2, but I might want it to be the smallest one. So we have, I don't know why they don't do this in order, but E2 micro. So what I'm going to do is go here, and actually we're doing this earlier. You can type this out if you don't have it. But here we have G Cloud Compute instances, and I'm just going to reduce the font a little bit so it's a little bit easier to work with. Now, obviously it could be harder for you to see, but hopefully it's not too bad. So what I'm going to do is say, we'll just say VM1. Okay. And then here we're going to swap this out from E2 medium to E2, I think they said it was micro. Scroll down there and take a look. It is. And then you can choose whatever zone you want. I've used Central 1A from before. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Okay. So that is going to, or should, initially create a VM called 1. It doesn't take too long, so we'll just wait a little bit here, okay? And that was really, really fast, so that was less than a minute. I'm going to go ahead and hit up, and we're going to switch this out to 2. Okay? So now we are creating our second virtual machine. And we'll give that a moment to create. So that is now created, and what I want to do is go back to my quotas and service limits, or whatever you want to call them. We're going to give this a nice hard refresh. Let's see if that value updates. So here it says, Compute Engine API, current usage 1. Okay. And so I was hoping that this would be based on amount of compute engines launched. But also there's region-specific stuff here too, right? So maybe it is in here. I just got to go find it. Just give me a moment, okay? Also, sorry, something I should have been paying attention to. This says networks up here, right? So it's the type of thing that's, I don't know why I wasn't paying attention to that. So let's try to find the instance. And this actually kind of makes sense because we obviously have a network set up. So that makes sense there. Just give me a moment, okay? All right, so what we can do is we can go to here on the filter, and then we have name. I'm just going to start typing instances and see if we can find something that resembles what we're looking for. And so somewhere in here, here it is, VM instances. And so here it shows the current usage 2. And so if we wanted to exceed that amount, we'd have to launch 24. It'd be interesting to see what happens if we try to exceed that. So I might be interested in trying to make a Terraform template that we can launch here. So maybe that's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to GitHub, and I'm going to make a new, you don't have to do this, but you can get the code from here. That's what I'm doing. I'm setting up a new code base for us folks here, unless I already have one. And I'm just going to check and see if I already have one or not, because I might. I do not. So let's go ahead and make our new GCP examples repo. So this is where I'm going to be putting all the code examples. So if you, again, you want to follow along, it'll make life a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and add the README, and we're going to go ahead and create the repo. You're not doing this. I'm doing this so that you have access to these files. I'm going to go ahead and hit a period on the keyboard here. Okay. And so I want to launch up 24 instances. You might not want to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and just say quotas. And in here, I want to have a Terraform script that will launch 24 instances. So I'm going to go over to anything. We can go over to Claude. Use whatever you like. I'll use Claude here today. I'm going to say I am using GCP and using Terraform. I would like to deploy 24 instances of E2 micros in US Central 1 E or A or whatever it was. And we'll go ahead and see if it can write that up for us. Because I want to see what happens if we hit the limit. Like, what are we going to see? Okay, and so we are getting some code here. Good. The GCP project ID, yep. Number of instances. And again, just carefully looking at the configuration here. I think this is fine. And here it has the account. We don't even need that, but it's nice that it's doing that if it wants to do a startup script here. If you enable external IPs, we don't really care about external IPs. We just want this to work, but I'm going to go ahead and copy the contents of this. Okay, we'll go over to here, and I'm going to make a new file called main.tf. We're going to paste that in. We don't actually have any compute attached here, so this is going to be a bit of a problem. I'm just going to commit this, so work in progress of quota example. And what I'm going to do, and it's up to you. You can clone this repo locally. You can use Gitpod, GitHub Codespaces. I'm going to use GitHub Codespaces because it's right here. And I'm going to create a new code space. You got to get your developer environment working however you want. Okay. And just to be cool, because we're the cool kids, we're going to switch this over to dark mode whenever it decides to let us choose our modes. And yeah, I don't know, just for writing code, I have to use dark mode. But we'll go over to here, and so we have our main TF, and so we're gonna need to get Terraform installed on here. So let's go take a look here. Install Terraform Ubuntu, because that's what we're using right now. And it should be pretty easy. Linux. I don't know if we need all of these commands, but it seems to think that we do. Secure systems up to date. Well, we're using a cloud environment, so I don't think that's necessary. We do need to use the HashiCorp GPG, so we'll definitely grab that. Okay. And I'm gonna, while I'm doing this, I'll make the instructions, because you never know when you have to come back and do this stuff again. So this will be the first thing we do. And you don't have to turn on Vim keys, but if I don't turn on Vim, my life is miserable. Okay. If you don't know what Vim is and you don't know how to use Vim keys, do not turn that on. This just makes it so it's easier for me to type. So this will be install Terraform. Okay. And I will go back over to here, and yeah, we're going to run these step by step. So hopefully it works. I'll paste that in down below. There probably is a way to install this like really quickly in GitHub Codespaces, but I want to show you the general way of doing it, so I don't want to add any kind of complications to it. Okay, we'll paste that in. Okay, I can also grab this page just in case you folks do not know where it is. And yeah, so we have the fingerprint, add the official repository here, good. I don't remember it being so many commands before, but I guess it depends on what you're using, right? Like if you're using a Mac, it's probably just brew install or something. And then we will do an update. It's not too bad. Sudo apt update. And then we'll run this line here. The repository does not have a release file. Cannot be done securely by default. I'm not sure if this will be a problem, but we'll find out in just a moment. As long as it installs, I don't care. It says it's installed. We'll type in Terraform. Or TF, sorry. Or Terraform. It says it installed. They're not unable to locate the package. So we do have a little bit of a problem. And again, this is 90% cloud, just figuring out problems. So what is our problem here? We have this step here. Yeah, it does not have a release file. Okay. So I mean that's not very helpful. Just a moment. So yeah, as I said, there is another way that we can probably install it, and that's using dev container. Now I've installed on GitHub Codespaces and Gitpod many times, and I'm surprised it's not working right now. There's a problem from people from 2022 that's really old, but to solve it is not clear. Just found out the solution works for me. Try installing Debian releases called Trixie. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So maybe what we'll do is use this way of doing it. If it's installed for you, then you're in good shape, but for me, it's not. So here, what's being suggested is open up the dev container configuration. So we'll go over to, back to our repo here in Codespaces. And they make it look like I can change my dev config here. Sure doesn't look that way though. If we go up to here, here it is. Okay, and so here they're suggesting we add in this code, I believe, under features. I know it's really small, that's why I'm saying it out loud as I do it. And yeah. And the question is like, how old is this one? Because see, it says Terraform 1, and then over here, when was this article made? Last year, so it probably is fine. I really like the idea of GitHub Codespaces as a cloud-based environment, et cetera, et cetera. So they're suggesting that this might work. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because we haven't really done anything in this environment, I'm going to, well, this is the github.dev. By the way, you gotta be logged in to use all this stuff if you don't already know that. So I'm over here and we have this. We'll go ahead and add that. So update instructions. I'm gonna need to rebuild this environment. So I believe we go to command palette. I don't know what it is. Rebuild. Rebuild container. Sounds good to me. So we'll have it rebuild. I'm doing a slow rebuild, and then we'll see if Terraform's already installed. We'll be back in just a moment, okay? All right, so I believe it's restarted. Let's go take a look here and see if we have Terraform now. Of course we don't. Of course we don't. Why would we get what we want, right? I actually didn't even sync these changes. So what I'm gonna do, just to really make sure this actually gets installed, and the other question, did I even save this? No, I didn't. So how's it gonna, what was the point of that rebuild if I didn't do that? So I'll try this one more time. We'll rebuild the container one more time. It took forever. But maybe this time. Oh, don't tell me it's that fast. Because last time I was waiting forever. Oh, okay. It's fast, I guess, now. And so I'm doing this. I'm not seeing that there. So I don't trust this. I'm going to go back to the repo here. And this is now the dev container over here. And just because I don't trust GitHub Codespaces, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And we'll make a new one. I used to love Gitpod, but Gitpod, they've been retiring their original service, and so I've been kind of staying away from there just in case, so people don't get comfortable with a really good service that they decided not to do anymore. So, I mean, they have a new way of working, but I haven't tried it yet. So this is going to spin up, and then we'll check if Terraform is installed. All right, we're back. Says the code space is currently running in recovery mode due to configuration error. What's wrong with my configuration error? Or my configuration, it's pretty darn straightforward, right? So we'll go back over to here, and I guess it didn't like what I did. I'm going to just click back to get back to it quickly. Or not, I suppose we can just edit the file manually here. And what could be wrong here? We have a comma here. We have the feature here. It looks fine. So dev containers. GitHub Codespaces. Doesn't matter what we do, we're going to have trouble no matter what we do. But once we get that set up, we'll be in good shape because I'm sure we will end up using Terraform more. See, here they have all the steps. So this is the way they did it. I mean, we could also just do it that way. You know, there's another thing that we can do. It's been a while, but we do use, let's see here, free GenAI Bootcamp. No, not the GenAI Bootcamp. If we go into here, and I should have a repo because I've done this so many times. But we have the AWS Bootcamp from 2023. I should have in here an installation script for Terraform. Okay, and so yeah, we have dev container. Let's check this one. And this one specifies the AWS CLI as a tool. And so that one looks correct. But I might also have in here the instructions. Maybe not. I was hoping maybe I have the instructions here to install. I do have a Gitpod YAML. So I do have one for Gitpod, but we're not using Gitpod, right? So yeah, this might still not work. So we really do need to figure out how to get that features there. Let's go over to here. See features, dev container, because there is a way to install them directly in here. But since it's in this debug mode, this is github.dev. That's not the same thing. That's not going to help us. Let's see if we can find it this way. We'll type in Terraform. And yeah, we have this one here. Let's go back over to here. Let's make sure that is correct. It's totally fine. Oh, you know what it is? We have doubles of these. This is our problem. So we have some extra copy going on here that's not supposed to be here. So we'll go ahead and take that out. And so that will probably fix our problem. Okay, let's go ahead and commit that. So now I'm hoping that that will fix our problem here. I know, again, huge detour. And I'll just close that tab out. We'll go back over to here. And if there is one running, we will stop it. We'll go ahead and delete it. And this time we'll create a new code space. But once we have Terraform set up, I'm sure we'll come back to it and use it again. So I don't think this is a waste of time. Okay. We'll give that a moment to spin up, okay? There we go. Supposedly it's activated. Let's go type in Terraform. If it ever decides, there we go. TF, Terraform. I don't know. I don't know what it wants to work. One second. So I know there's another way to install these, which is through the command palette. So modify your active permissions. That might be one we might want to do here. I'm doing Command P, by the way, to bring that up. It's just this command palette. I'm actually hitting Command. Yeah, there we go. So modify. Say dev container feature dev container. Sure. Modify. And so now we have checkboxes. So now I can go here and just type in Terraform. Right? And it's checkboxed, right? So what else would it need for this to work? It clearly is installed. So we'll go ahead and type this again, Terraform. All right, 1 second. I really don't think I should have to do this, but I'm going to do a rebuild, which seems excessive, but I'm hitting Control-Shift-P, by the way, when I do that. So we'll try this again. We'll do a rebuild. And I'm going to do a full rebuild. And let's hope that Terraform shows up now. All right, let's take a look now. Terraform. There we go. Okay, so I know that was a lot of work, but we are close to getting something set up here. So we have our main.tf. There's a little bit more work that we need to do, as we need a way of actually connecting to our account. So obviously there are some configurations that we'll need to do. I'm going to just make this a bit larger, and I'm going to go back and get my Vim command here. Again, don't install this unless you know what you're doing and you want Vim. We'll go over our themes. We'll change our color. We'll go to dark mode. And what I'm going to do here is I need a way of storing the variables. So it's been a while. I mean, it's vars.tf or something. Variables vars tf Terraform. Yeah, it is variables tf. Well, no, there's variables tf. Tf vars is what I'm thinking. There, tf vars actually stores the values. So we will go back over to, whoa, where did we go? Allow. And so here we have these variables here, right? So normally these would be separated out into a separate file. So this would be variables tf, I believe. Okay, and then we'll place that there. So we have the number here, and that there. So now we actually need to load this up with a value. So I think maybe like, was it main.tf vars? It's been a while. Let's go take a look here. Just a moment. Oh, we actually already have it over here. Okay, so yeah, here. Oh yeah, it's Terraform TF vars. I don't think that the name here matters. I can't remember if it does or not, but I was going to name it main. So we'll just make sure that we name it correctly here. There we go. And so now we can provide our values. So we'll go back over to here. Yeah, it's just project ID like that. So do that. And then the next thing I need is the name of this. So this is GCP Playground, but that's not its ID, as this is actual its ID, right? So we'll go ahead and copy that. We'll make our way back over to here. We're going to select this. We're going to paste this in here. And there we go. So now that should be set up. We'll do Terraform init. It says the directory has no, well, we got to cd into the correct directory. There we go. We'll say Terraform init again. Terraform has been successfully initialized, so that is good. what is next? I don't think we could do a Terraform apply, but let's try it anyway because we don't have any credentials set up, right? So how is it going to know how to deploy? There we go. Attempted to load, but there are no credentials. And so there are a few different ways of getting credentials in. At least that's what I recall. Let's take a look here, over here, and see what it says. Okay, so how do I load Terraform credentials for GCP? We'll see what it comes up with. Actually, Terraform, getting information for that is the worst for Terraform, just because, again, it's documentation, lack of documentation, and this is due to GCP's fault for not providing it. But we'll go over to here, because generally what you can do is go check the provider information. Not over here, but we'll say Terraform provider GCP. We'll try this again. And we'll go over to here. And so it should be providers, and we go to GCP, and we go to documentation. And here it should tell us how to do it. Sometimes it's in the top part of this guide. And usually it's in this part here, but we're looking for that information for credentials. So where are you? It used to be right here or here. They do not. I just want to show you I'm not crazy. Like if you go over to other providers like AWS and documentation, the first thing they normally tell you is authentication configuration, right? Same thing with Azure. But we go over to GCP, you'd expect that to be there, but it's not. Which is fine. So we will try to leverage Claude to get help here today. So create a service account, yes. Grant permissions, download the key, set the environment. Yeah, it is really that involved. Method 2, application default credentials recommended for local development. I mean, we're developing in a cloud environment. So maybe we can do this Google Auth login. It's usually hard to log in when you're in a cloud environment. We can try it. We don't have gcloud installed, so we might have to get that installed. Let's go over to here and see if we can even do that. Control-Shift-P, and it was dev containers. Okay, modify, gcloud. And so here we have gcloud CLI. What's the difference between these two? I don't know. So I guess I'll go with this one. It'd be nice if there was an official one. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. And I'm just going to go ahead and just, I don't want to really save all this stuff in here. So I need a git ignore for Terraform. So say git ignore Terraform. Usually GitHub will have one for us. Not exactly. So we'll take this one from Spacelift. They're OK. And we will go back over to here. I'll make a new git ignore just in this directory here, okay? Because I just want to say this before I do a rebuild. And, okay, we want to add that first. Update git ignore. Okay. And now if it wants to add any of these files, then it's fine, right? So, but I mean, TFRs is, I mean, that's not sensitive information, but it could be sensitive information. I don't want 1Password here. Let's close that out there. And so I'm going to go ahead and just say update. I think that's fine what we have in here. If it's not, we'll figure it out as we go. Let's go ahead and try this again. So Control-Shift-P. We want to, yeah, add to there, modify to there. We'll type in GCP or gcloud. CLI, install it. We'll hit OK. Keep defaults. And rebuild now. So we're going to rebuild that. And yeah, so we'll have to do a full rebuild, I think. We'll be back in just a moment, okay? All right, we are back. And we should now have gcloud. Let's see if it's here. It is. Okay, so let's try a gcloud login. I think it's gcloud auth login. It's been a little while, but... And so here it's suggesting to follow a link. Once you finish this, we'll bring in the browser. So I'm going to just hold Control and click. It will say open, and maybe this will be really easy to connect. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's easy. And so here, yeah, it says we should have done that, right? We'll go ahead and copy this. It's totally fine. And I'm just going to paste that in there and hit enter. You are now logged in. So now we are in good shape. Your current project is none, so we can set it, but technically we have set it over here in our in this file here, so I'm not really worried about it. And this is not really a secret, so I'm not worried about that either. So let's go ahead and see if we can now deploy. It's defaulted to 24, so we should be in good shape here. So I'm going to type in Terraform apply. And it says no configuration found. Applies require configuration to be present. Applying without configuration would mark everything for destruction, which is normally not what you want to desire. If you would like to destroy everything, well, I'm not trying to destroy anything, but I'm not sure why. Oh, you know what? I'm not in the right folder. And we'll do Terraform init because we need to do this. Oh, Terraform should be here. Oh, you know what? You got to type it right for it to work. There we go. Terraform apply. I usually will abbreviate Terraform to TFs so I don't get it wrong. And here it's worried about credentials. We'll go over to here, take a look. Could not find default credentials. So we'll go ahead and grab this link here. See if this helps at all. Local developer environment. If you're using local shell, use your credentials. So I'm just trying to decide what's the easiest way to do this. I guess we could do gcloud init and see what happens. But I thought we're logged in, so I figured it would just work at this point. Let's go ahead and try this. No, see, we don't need, I'll hit 1. Yeah, because we're logged in, so I don't feel like we need to reinitialize any of this. Pick your project to use, so we'll do number 2 here. No, I don't care what zone it is. Okay, let's try this again. Okay. 1 second, let's go take a look here. So I know sometimes we end up having to download a key to verify stuff, but it says the credentials field in the provider config expects a path to service account key, not the account credentials. If you want to authenticate with your user account, try emitting credentials and running gcloud application default login if Terraform doesn't find your credentials. I suppose we could try that. Explicitly advised against using application default login. This approach isn't recommended. Some APIs are not compatible with credentials obtained through gcloud. For almost all cases, whether you're deploying locally or in production applications, you should use service accounts rather than accounts or API keys. So they're insisting that we use service accounts, which is fine. I always forget how to do this in GCP, but we will stumble our way through it. And we'll just reject this. We don't care about that. And I think I've been running machines in the background here because we're going to launch up 24. So I want to get the ones that we have here out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to go and delete these, which is fine. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make my way over to, what am I making my way over to? Service accounts. Service accounts, there we go. And so we have this developer one here for compute engine, but we'll go ahead and make a new service account. And again, I always forget how these work. So 1 second, let's look it up. Well, we did have the steps up here, right? Service account file key recommended. So here, description, display name. This is probably the easier way to do it, I suppose. So maybe we'll just completely skip this interface here and just go over to Cloud Shell. Authorize, and let's see if that works. Once it decides to connect. So create service account. Yeah, that's what we want. So we'll go ahead. And it's set as this default project. Make sure you check what projects you're in as this is working. So we'll go ahead and hit enter. And so now we have a service account created. Let's go over to service account, see what it looks like. Is it in here? Well, at least we know we've created one, but where it is another question. Let's give this a hard refresh. Sometimes giving a hard refresh might help. There it is. Okay, great. So you can see it named it. So probably description display name. So we type, let's look down here, let's type in Terraform. Yeah, so it would have been whatever's in the prereq here. And so if we go back, yeah, so we would just put in Terraform SA and that would have done that. So now what's the next step? Probably to get the keys, grant it permissions, service account, instance admin, account user. Sure, I suppose we can do that. Is this too permissive? I don't know, seems fine to me. I mean, we do want to get access to compute, so that makes sense. And we probably do need access to IAM, so that also makes sense. So that is probably fine. So I'm going to grab these here because obviously you might not have these, as you might not want to have to copy and paste them in. So I'm going to go over to here into our README here. And we'll go ahead and we'll just do this. We'll bring that over. And I think these are fine. The only thing that's kind of annoying is that we have to replace our project ID here. So there's probably a environment variable set up, env grep project. So here they have Google Cloud Project ID like this, right? So that is definitely a more convenient way to grab it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that here. And I'm going to go back over to here. And I'm just going to swap this out because, again, I'm just trying to make this easier. Google Cloud Project. Okay, so in theory, this should, I don't like how long that name is, but I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to export it this one time. And we've already done this one, so let's see if we can run this one next. Hopefully it just works. Paste. Well, we're doing this in, hold on. We're not doing it here, we're doing it over here, right? Paste. It is not being cooperative here today. Right-click copy. Sometimes you got to do a lot of right-clicking. There we go. And that worked. Okay, good. Or it looks like it worked. We'll go ahead and copy this. We'll paste that in next. We'll hit enter. Okay, we have that. The next thing we need is our key. So we'll go and grab this. Okay. Now we actually need to download this into this machine here. We should be able to do it. So here, good thing I actually set that env here earlier. I'm not sure if I actually set that that one there. I think I just picked up the project inherently. Let's go ahead and see if we can just download in here because we are authorized over here, so it should just work. Please, please, please. It did or it didn't? Let's go refresh this. I can't tell. Let's go over to here. I don't see anything committed in here, so it makes me think. Maybe it did. Oh yeah, it went right here. So home code spaces Terraform key JSON. So it actually did download it. Is that where we want it to be? I don't know. So now that we have the key downloaded, oh, yeah. Okay, and then we set it this way. That makes sense. Yep. So then it doesn't really matter where it goes as long as it goes to the place that we want. So download to the home directory, which is fine. This is not obviously, well, actually will persist if we restart this machine. But this should, in theory, get us over that hump. So I'm going to go ahead and just say update. Okay, we'll sync those changes. Let's now go ahead. Whoops. Let's go now ahead and see if we can do a Terraform apply. All this work to get Terraform working. And has no file or directory. So it's suggesting that's not working. I'm going to see if I can cat this out. So it is there. right? But it might want the full path. So I'm going to do PWD and, well, sorry, I'll do PWD on this here like that. That's not going to work. I thought that would expand it. Okay, so we'll do that. So it's home code spaces. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of that. I don't know if this is the problem, but we'll go ahead and just take that out like this. And then we will paste it in like this. We will go back to our workspace directory. What a hard, all the other videos are not going to be this hard. It's just, this task just happens to be hard. Okay. We'll go ahead and hit enter here. And so now it's saying like, okay, yeah, we're going to set this up and these are all the instances that we're going to make. All right. And where are they going to deploy this? 24. So again, if you're not comfortable deploying 24, that's totally fine. I'm comfortable doing this. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to see us hit that quota limit. All that roundabout stuff to do that, eh? You might ask like, Andrew, why don't you go back and edit your videos and make it more straightforward? Because I think this is part of the learning process, showing this stuff. Some of them I actually do, but some of them I'm not going to go back and edit because, some of these things I see and I think that they should be included. So this is going to go ahead and deploy 24 instances, which is totally in our quota to do so. And we're going to find out here shortly, once it's done, if that's working there. But now we have Terraform set up because the way you deploy to GCP is with Terraform. There is a native solution for GCP, but nobody uses it. They use Terraform. So we'll give that a moment to finish, okay? All right, so it didn't take really long for that to spin up. Let's go take a look now over here in our quotas, which we've been keeping this diligently open this entire time. Let's give it a hard refresh. And let's see if we are at our max quota. There we're at 100% utilization. So what would happen if we tipped that over just by 1? So I'm going to go back over to here and I'm going to go into our, I think it's TFRs, and we want to change the number in here so it's a little bit larger. So I cannot remember, I cannot remember what is the variable name, but we will go find it here in just a moment. It is called, it's under variables. What am I doing? It's over here. So we have instance count. So we're going to go ahead and change this now to 25. And let's see how that takes. So we'll go ahead, we'll type in Terraform apply. Our expectation is this is going to fail, right? Because it can't add another instance. And we just want to see what kind of error we get. We could also do it through the console and find out. And we can do that for fun too. So it says error waiting, for instance, quota CPUs exceeded. So now we're seeing that information there. And that's totally fine. Let's go over to EC2 or EC2 compute engine. Sorry, too many clouds for me. We'll go over to the compute engine here and we'll go ahead and launch a new instance. And my expectation is this is not going to work. So we'll go here and I will just choose the micro as we're just trying to be cost effective. And my expectation is this will not launch. But again, we want to observe, we want to see what this looks like. This is how we get our experience by actually doing. And there we go. So we hover over, it says, no, you're not allowed to do this. So we've learned that if we want to increase that, there should be a quota increase somewhere. So let's go back to quotas. Okay. And so increase requests. So that has to obviously go somewhere, increase request. Some things are at the organizational level. So now we're at our org level here. Okay, so give me a moment to find it. So here it's saying, in most cases, increased adjustments must be made at the project level, limited number of products support organizational level quota changes. Okay, I thought it had been the organizational level. So go here. Okay, maybe we have to just click into it. All right, so wherever that was before, we're going to go back into name. Let's say instances. Instance. VM instances, maybe? Nope. And I think it's because now we're at the organizational level. Let's go back to our project level. And this one's now on top because I guess it's exacerbated. So we'll go into here. And so we're in here. Where do we increase the limit? Sure, checkbox it. Okay, well, we've hit the limit. Can we increase it? Maybe over here. Edit quota. And let's see if we can do, so it says here, enter new value, above 24 will require approval for your service provider. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do 25. I am teaching GCP to students, and I'm showing them how to make a quota increase. Okay, done. I guess we have summary there next. I'm not putting my phone number in. We'll go ahead and do that. And so here you can see whether they will take that increase or not. If they don't, I don't care. That's obviously for demonstrations. Let's make our way back over to here. We want to get rid of all these instances here. So I'm going to say Terraform destroy. You got to type it right if you want it to work. We'll give that a moment. So now it is working to destroy those. We're going to wait a little bit. But yeah, a long video for such a short thing, but I think it was worth our time. Here we just need a confirmation. Say yes. There it goes. We'll wait for those to destroy. All right, there we go. Our resources are destroyed, and I don't think there's anything sensitive in here. Do I want to be storing? No, TF state file. Like, do we want to store TF state files? I always forget. Do TF state files go in repo? I don't think they do. Yeah, because it can have sensitive information, you generally do not want to commit them. Yeah, and so what I'm going to do, just because this really shouldn't be in here, we'll go ahead and... The thing is that as long as we don't get rid of this environment, it's fine, but we should be managing our state somewhere, and we're simply not right now. And so I'm going to just ignore both these files here. There's nothing like sensitive in here that would cause any problems, but I'm going to go ahead just to git remove. I don't think I've committed them, but in case I have, we'll go ahead and just say git remove Terraform TF state. Okay, so maybe it hasn't been added, so that's fine. Okay, great. And so yeah, if you want to follow along there, but obviously that was very roundabout, but we will come back and use Terraform at some other point. So having this set up early on is going to be great for us. Ciao, ciao. Okay, so Google Cloud obviously has a lot of services, but how do you know what is available for your region or area? Well, one of the easiest ways to find out is going to cloud.google.com about/locations. If you scroll on down here, it's going to tell you products available by location. So, you know, if you're looking for something in particular, you can use this grid. I don't find this to be the easiest to work with, but I mean, like, I'm in Canada, right? So I might go here and say, okay, well, I guess App Engine is not available here in Toronto, but it is available in Montreal. So if I want to utilize it, we can. They also have up here this region picker tool. So if you go over to here, it's really originally, I think, for carbon footprint. But if you're just trying to find, you know, a specific location, so maybe we see it, say Canada, right? It's telling you the next one that you should recommend it to. So if I'm in Canada, then it's saying, you know, it'd be more efficient to use it here. I'm not sure why Montreal and Toronto would be third. It seems like that should be on top. But clicking through here, like if it's just not in the list, like we saw, what was it? App Engine's not available. So we click on this, and so we can see that there is no Toronto location. So that is another way to determine it. And sometimes the docs will tell you what locations it runs in. But this is not always a reliable way to do this. So if we were to switch to another product, so we go here and we go to Compute Engine, I'm not sure if it would have, yeah, the same option. So we go back over to here. So here we see locations under resources. Okay, so we'll go over to here in the docs. And Notice like the UI, it's not even consistent. So you have to just kind of fish for it. But for the most part, you know, if you need to find something, it's right here. Okay. But there you go. Let's take a look here at service counts. So service counts enable apps or virtual machines to secure access to Google Cloud resources without user involvement. So used by apps or virtual machines to authenticate with GCP services, acts as identity of a service with permissions controlling resource access, identified by a unique email address, not necessarily yours, but one that is created within Google Cloud. It eliminates direct user involvement in authentication. If you come from AWS, the way you do it over there, well, I guess for the most part, a lot of times AWS passes the permissions implicitly to to a compute machine, right? But the closest equivalent would be creating a new user that doesn't have console access, that only has credentials like access keys, and you treat it as a machine user, right? But for whatever reason, Google likes to separate out as a separate service. Totally fine. But let's just walk through the three types of services, three types of service accounts. You have user managed. These are created manually by the user for custom apps or workloads. You control the naming and permissions. And what is key to remember here is the ending. So again, we said that they have unique emails, and this was going to be .im. I've also seen developer. I'm not sure if it's for user managed ones, but it's going to vary based on use case. Then you have Google managed ones. These automatically are created by Google, and they're obviously for Google services. Some are visible for specific use cases. Others are hidden for backend system tasks. The names typically include service agent or service account. So here you will see system. Okay. So there'll be some variation here, but notice here it says service agent, right? So then you have the default ones created by GCP when you enable specific services like Compute Engine, App Engine, automatically granted project-wide editor role unless modified. And so here we can tell that it is for AppSpot as it is suggested there in the name. The whole purpose of service accounts is to generate out two keys for you. You have Google managed ones and user managed ones. If they're managed by Google, then they're fully handled by Google. The keys are rotated automatically. The private keys are secure and never accessible. And you use IAM APIs to perform signing operations. For user managed service account keys, you, the user, are creating the key. You control the private key and are responsible for the security rotation, preventing loss of the private key. Public keys are stored by Google. Private keys are not retrievable by Google. If lost, the service account stops functioning. It stores these keys in Cloud KMS for enhanced security. Let's talk about permissions for service accounts. The service account permissions define who can use a service account and access resources via IAM policies. So this is where you're going to have service accounts that have IAM policies just like any other resource. So you have roles, and this is going to provide control access to your service account. Service account user role grants access at the project or service account level. Again, this is pretty straightforward. But users can impersonate service accounts to access resources. And I don't know if I have a slide for this, but that last part is that you can grant a user access to a service account, and that is what we talk about when we're saying impersonation, okay? Default service accounts get editor roles for basic tasks, and I think you can change that if you don't like that, okay? Then we have access scopes. These are the legacy methods for defining permissions for service accounts on Google Cloud. I don't think I really come across this very often, if ever now, but we'll mention it anyway. So you can assign a service account such as the default Compute Engine default service account to a VM and resource. Here you can see the access scope options. So we have allow default access, allow full access to Cloud APIs, set access for APIs. And again, it's the current best practice to use custom service accounts with IAM roles. Again, I do it the modern way, so I can't even remember if I ever see this. Let's talk about use of service accounts. Service accounts authenticate and authorize apps or services to access Google Cloud resources securely, either by attachment or impersonation. Let's take a look at the first example. So attached to resource. The service account is bound to a resource to allow the resource to act with permissions granted to the service account, similar to like how AWS will pass on permissions to virtual machines. And so that's where you attach the resource. Then you have impersonation. So a user or another service impersonates the service account to perform actions on its behalf. This avoids the need to manage external keys. Similar to, again, AWS, temporary STS service token, whatever. So same thing where you assume a role of another thing. This is just assuming a role if, again, you come from the AWS world. So let's talk about a few best practices. Use service account keys.list or logvira to audit service accounts and keys. Delete unused external keys. Grant only the minimum permissions needed for the service account. Create separate service accounts for each service with specific permissions. Use the IAM service account API for key rotation. So there you go. I mean, really all you got to remember is that service accounts creates keys, and that's how you're going to allow your apps to interact with GCP, but there you go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at Cloud Billings Account, which is used to define who pays for a given set of Google Cloud resources and is connected to a Google Payments profile. So over here on the right-hand side, you can see that link. So projects are going to be going to your billing account, and then your billing account is linked to a payment profile. If you want to see that you can create multiple under a payment profile, you create multiple billing accounts. So here is just a single one, but it's very easy to create multiples. So billing account includes one or more billing contacts predefined in a payments profile. Billings can have sub-accounts for resellers, so you can bill resources to be paid by your customer. So let's compare the two so that we fully understand these two offerings, okay? So for Cloud Billing Account, it is a cloud level resource managed in the Google Cloud Console, tracks all of the costs, charges, and usage credits incurred by the Google Cloud usage. A Cloud Billing Account can be linked to one or more projects. Projects usage is charged to the linked billing account, results in a single invoice per cloud billing account, operates in a single currency, defines who pays for a given set of resources, is connected to a Google Payments profile, which includes payment instructions defining how you pay for charges, has billing specific roles and permissions to control accessing and modifying billing related functions, so established IAM. So on the payments profile side, we're over here now, it is a Google level resource managed at payments.google.com, connects to all of your Google services such as Google Ads, Google Cloud, Phone service, processes payments for all Google services, not just Google Cloud, stores information like names, address, tax ID when required legally, or who is responsible for the profile, stores your various payment instruments, so credit cards, debit cards, bank accounts, other payment methods you'll be used to buy through Google in the past, functions as a document center where you can view invoices, payment history, and so on, controls who you can view and receive invoices of various cloud billing accounts and products. So hopefully that is clear. On the exam, they're not going to ask you to choose out of these at a lineup, so I wouldn't worry about that. It's just more for your benefit, okay? Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at billing account types. So there are two types of cloud billing accounts. We got self-serve or online accounts. Payment instrument is a credit or debit card, ACH direct debit. Depending on the availability in each country or region, costs are charged automatically to the payment instrument connected to the cloud billing account. You can sign up for self-serve accounts online. The documents generated for the self-serve account include statements, payment receipts, tax invoices that are accessible to Google Cloud Console. Then you have invoice or offline accounts. So payment instrument can be a check or wire transfer. Invoices are sent by mail or electronically. Invoices are also accessible in the Cloud Console, as are payment receipts. You must be eligible for invoice billing, and you can learn more about it somewhere in the documentation. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know. I don't remember seeing whether AWS or Azure had that, but it's cool that you can do that kind of offline method. For payment profile types, there's two as well. We got individual. So you're using your account for your own personal payments. If you register your payment profile as an individual, then you can only manage the profile. You won't be able to add or remove users or change permissions on the profile. And then we have business. You're paying on behalf of a business, organization, partnership, or educational institution. You use Google Payment Center to pay for Play apps, games, Google services like Google Ads, Google Cloud, Phone service. A business profile allows you to add other users to a Google Payment profile you manage so that more than one person can access or manage payment profiles. all users added to a business profile can see the payment information on that profile. So there you go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at charging cycles. So for self-serve cloud billing accounts, your Google Cloud costs are automatically charged in one of two ways. So you either have monthly billing, so costs are charged on a regular monthly cycle, or threshold billing. Costs are charged when your account has accrued a specific amount. For self-serve cloud billing accounts, your charging cycle is automatically assigned when you create the account. You do not get to choose your charging cycle, and you cannot change the charging cycle. For invoice cloud billing accounts, your typical receive one invoice per month, and the amount of time you have to pay your invoice, so your payment terms, is determined by the agreement you made with Google. So there you go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we're looking at cloud billing IAM roles. So cloud billing lets you control which users have administrative and cost viewing permissions for specified resources by setting identity and access management, so IAM policies, on the resources. So to grant or limit access to cloud billing, you can set an IAM policy at the organizational level, the cloud billing account level, or the project level. Cloud billing roles in IAM include billing account creator. So this creates a new self-serve online billing accounts. Billing account administrator, manage billing accounts, but not be able to create them. Billing account user, so link projects to billing accounts. Billing account viewer, so view billing account cost information and transactions. Project billing manager, so link and unlink the project to and from a billing account. Billing account cost manager, so can view and export cost information of billing. In the documentation here, I've just pulled up one. This is for billings admin, and just shows you all the permissions that are possible. Okay, so this is basically a condensed list of all this information, all these descriptions and stuff. But if you want to have an idea of exactly what you have access to, you can see that there. Okay. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at billing health checks and also budget alerts. So billing health checks are recommendations to avoid common billing issues. So within your billings overview, you'll see this billing health checks, and it'll either be red, like saying, look at these things, here are some ideas and things that are good. And so if you click into that, you can see a full kind of checklist. The first recommendation is to go ahead and create a budget alert. So this allows you to make multiple alert thresholds to reduce spending, surprises, and unexpected cost overruns. Lots of great suggestions here, but let's take a look more detail at budget alerts. So you can narrow down the budget scope to specific projects or specific resources. You're going to go ahead and provide a value. So here I say $100. Notice that it draws a trend line, so you can see where your spend is currently at. And you can set multiple thresholds that preemptively warn you when you approach your budget limit. So here I'm saying $50, $90, $100. This is really nice because other cloud service providers, what they'll do is you'll just set a threshold to say a single threshold, which is like 20%. And if you wanted these incremented stuff, you'd have to make multiple budget alerts or plans or whatever you want to call them, the other CSPs, but it would cost you more money. Whereas this one, you can just do it all in one go, which is really nice. So notification options, so email alerts to billing admin users, link monitoring email notification channels to the budget, connect a pub subtopic to this account, this budget. So there you go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and I just want to show you how would you get to all the cool billing features in Google Cloud Console. Well, you just go to billing in the drop down, and from there you're going to have a lot of options. But the ones that Google wants you to know, and you definitely need to know these for the exam, are the built-in billing reports. There's 4 that they have in mind. So there's billing reports, so an interactive pricing explorer including graph visualization, cost table reports, a tabular breakdown of the cost to analyze details of invoices, cost breakdown report, so at a glance waterfall overview of monthly charges and credit, pricing report, so access SKU prices for Google Cloud Services. Here they are. Just notice that they're not one-to-one in terms of naming, so that's why I highlighted these in black, so you could just see like cost table report is just called cost table, pricing report is just called pricing, things like that, okay? Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are taking a look at the billing reports in greater detail here. So billing report is to view and analyze your Google Cloud usage costs using many selectable settings and filters. So configuring various views of cloud billing reports can help you answer questions like these. How is my current month's Google Cloud spending trending? What Google Cloud project cost the most last month? What Google Cloud service costs me the most? What are my forecasted future costs based on historical trends? How much am I spending by the region? What was the cost of resources with label X? And you can also have customized report views that are savable and shareable. So on the exam, they actually might ask you, like, okay, you want to do this, right? Which built-in report will let you do that? So you need to remember these, okay, and which they apply to, all right? Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at cost table reports. And a cost table report is to access and analyze the details of your invoices and statements. I know this image is really small, but down below it actually shows like kind of like a summary of costs, just like an invoice. So you can filter that out to understand those totals and things like that. So because your generated invoices and statement PDF only contains simplified summarized views of your costs, the cost table report is available to provide invoice or statement cost details such as the following, including project level cost details from your invoices and statements, including tax costs broken down out by project. Includes additional details you might need, such as IDs, SKU IDs, project numbers. The report view is customizable and downloadable to a CSV. So there you go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at cost breakdown report. So a cost breakdown report is an at-a-glance waterfall overview of your monthly costs and savings. So this report shows the following summarized view of monthly charges and credits, the combined cost of your monthly Google Cloud usage, on-demand rate calculated using non-discounted list prices, savings realized on your invoice due to negotiated price, if applicable for your Google Cloud billing account, savings earned on your invoice with usage-based credits broken down by credit type. Your invoice level charges such as tax and adjustments. So they call it a waterfall because it looks like a waterfall, but the idea is like this is just a much clearer view than using billing reports. Of course, you can get the same visualization with billing reports. It's just an easier visualization, okay? Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at pricing reports. So use the pricing table report to access SKU prices for Google Cloud services, including Google Cloud, Google Maps Platform, Google Workspace, as of the date the report is viewed. The report shows the following pricing information: displays SKU prices specific to the selected cloud billing account. If your cloud billing account has negotiated contract pricing, each SKU displays the list price, your contract price, and your effective discount. If an SKU is subject to tiered pricing, each pricing tier for an SKU is listed as a separate row. All the prices are shown in the currency of the selected billing account, and the report view is customizable and downloadable to the CSV for offline analysis. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are looking at what the Google Cloud Console is. And this is a portal that is a web-based unified console that provides an alternative to the command line tools. It allows you to build, manage, and monitor everything from simple web apps to complex cloud deployments. And so this is generally the main way you're going to be interacting with Google Cloud because it's the easiest way to do it. So the idea is that you have this hamburger menu. You can drop down and see all the possible services. You can also search for them. You can organize different projects here and switch between them. And in the background here, what you can see me doing is I'm actually trying to launch a new compute engine virtual machine instance. You can also get notifications and things like that. But basically, everything you want to do is via the console, okay? Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are taking a look here at Cloud SDK. So SDK stands for Software Development Kit, and it is a collection of software development tools in one installable package. So you can use the Cloud SDK to pragmatically create, modify, delete, or interact with Google Cloud resources. And the SDK is offered in a variety of programming languages. So we got Java, Python, Node.js, Ruby, which is my favorite, Go, .NET, PHP. And so here's this example of us using the SDK with Ruby code. So we've installed the package as a Ruby gem. That's how we did it. And we're accessing BigQuery, and we're just iterating out that table. Okay. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are taking a look at Cloud CLI. So CLI stands for Command Line Interface, and what it allows you to do is process commands to a computer program in the form of lines of text. And operating systems implement a command line interface in a shell or a terminal. That's how you're going to interact with one. And so this is what it looks like to use the CLI. So once it's installed, what you'll do is write gcloud, and then whatever it is that you want to do. So in this case, we are you want to work with a compute engine. So we write compute, we're SSH into our instance. And so it's just as simple as that, okay? Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we're taking a look here at Cloud Shell, and this is a free online environment with a command line access for managing your infrastructure and an online code editor for cloud development. So the idea here is these are the two interfaces. They're very pretty similar, but the idea is you'll press this little button here. It will launch generally a shell, and if you want to switch over to the editor, you just press that. And here you can see this is basically a bash terminal. And this one here is a VS Code environment. So there you go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are taking a deeper look here at App Engine. So App Engine is a platform as a service for your applications. You can quickly deploy and scale web applications without having to worry about the underlying infrastructure. And a great way of thinking of this is if you know Heroku, it's basically the Heroku of GCP. So the idea here is you can use your favorite programming language, whether it's Node.js, Java, Ruby, C#, Go, Python, or PHP. You can also bring your own language runtime, and you do that by creating a custom Docker container. So there is all our familiar logos just to kind of put home as to what you can use. It has powerful